Jailbreak has had almost 100 updates throughout the 5 years of its existence. While there are many phenomenal updates, just last week I made a video talking about my 10 favorite updates, many of the updates have also been quite mediocre or even bad at times. In this video, I will be talking about 10 updates I really do not like and I consider to be the worst jailbreak updates of all time. My criteria for the worst updates basically revolves around them not adding much content for the amount of time we have to wait for the update, as well as how the actual content itself impacts gameplay. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and let's get started. In 10th place, we have the Season 8 update. Now I know this update is fairly recent, but I already really don't like it, and it was one of my least favorite updates of all time. This update was just so lacking. All we got was like a garage revamp, which in my opinion made the garage a lot worse. The new garage just looks very messy and it blocks up a lot of the screen. I just really prefer the old one. I wish they were able to keep the design of the old one while still implementing the favoriting feature. While I do like Season 8 and the Badger, they were still way too little for an update, so overall I found this update quite disappointing and quite small. Up next is the Season 6 update. Now, I have very similar thoughts to this as I do with Season 8. I did really like the season and the car rewarded, but everything else added in this update was pretty mediocre. Really, the only thing we got besides the season was the item dropping feature, which is really not that useful and pretty much nobody uses this. Then we have the April 2021 apartment revamp. The apartment revamp update itself was very poorly done. You could not save the apartment decorations, so it was very tedious to customize the apartments. Also, they did not really give you a reason to actually use them. I can't believe the devs thought it was a good idea to release the apartment revamp without a saving feature. Like seriously, that's very stupid. Also, the season that came along with it, Season 3, was quite bad, as the only good thing about it was the grand prize and everything else sucked. So overall, I did not care for this update, and the only reason it isn't lower is because the apartments were saved much later by another update. Then we have the military base update. This update in 2019 added the military base to the game, but I really didn't like this update and I found it very disappointing. The military base had basically nothing there. There was no reason to go there. There was no jeep, that was added in a future update. The alien guns were not added until a future update. There was no jet either, that was added in a future update. And obviously, there was no tank, as we just got that back in December. I thought the military base was way too overhyped and there was nothing that gave people a reason to go there. Then we have the 2017 winter update. Everything this update added at launch was pretty bad. The McLaren was very mediocre when it was first added and players were constantly complaining about it throughout the years. The ATV is pretty bad today, and even back then it was not a great vehicle. Though I still have some nostalgia for it, as it was the first vehicle I bought and I used to drive it all the time. Now, don't even get me started on the Volt bike. While the Volt bike initially when it was added was a very cool vehicle, there was a very problematic bug which made it a terrible vehicle and ruined the game. Volt bike users were basically unstoppable. The train when it was first added was very problematic and buggy. It was impossible to rob. This is another case of me wishing that the devs had fully figured out something before they added it. While I do think a lot of the stuff in this update has been fixed, like the Volt bike is very good now, the McLaren is a pretty good vehicle, and the train is alright. This update was still not great when it was first added. Then we have the passenger train update. The passenger train was a very disappointing robbery and it has only gotten worse with time. It gives very little cash and it gives you an annoying museum bag. This update kind of ruined trains, whereas you were able to rob trains multiple times, but with the addition of the passenger train, you could only rob trains one time. This update added in game modes, which were very disappointing and a huge disaster, and you had to buy a VIP server and then pay for the game modes to be able to use them. I really hope game modes get added back soon because I think they have a lot of potential, but they really need to be restructured and reorganized because the way they were first added was a disaster. They need to be free for all players and there needs to be a way for people to actually play them, which doesn't involve the whole server having to vote for them. Then we have the apartments update. Apartments when they were first added were very rushed, and the devs talked about how one of the things they regretted about weekly updates was how rushed some of the features were, apartments included. There was literally no point to have apartments. The only purpose they had was a place you could hide totally from cops. Apartments were and still are very neglected and very useless features, which I think are in dire need of a pretty big shakeup. Asimo has talked about giving apartments another go, so hopefully this time, the apartments will get a good update. In third place, we have the 2018 live event. I personally found this update very disappointing, and it has remained one of my least favorite updates. This update was very hyped up by the developers, and rightly so, as it was a very significant milestone for a Roblox game to have a live event. However, the content added was not great. We got a city revamp, which in my opinion made the city look worse. I preferred the older city. And we got the ambulance, which is a pretty bad vehicle, and got even worse when the force field launcher was added. None of the stuff that was added in this update exists in the game today or is useful in any capacity. In second place, we have the sword update. Everybody knew that melee weapons would suck. Everybody knew that weapons like this do not work in a game like Jailbreak. However, the devs still thought it was a good idea to add them into the game, and boy were they wrong. The sword is absolutely garbage. It does barely any damage, it's so hard to hit cops with it, and the only reason people use it nowadays is for a very tiny speed buff. This update was also massively overhyped. If the devs just quietly added the sword, I wouldn't hate this update as much as I do. However, the devs still teased it for like a month by having a giant ship show up. And yeah, when the sword was added, everybody hated it, nobody used it, and it was a complete waste of cash and time. Coming in first place for the worst Jailbreak update of all time is the Season 4 update. This update was dead on arrival. Everybody was hating on it when it was added. Even people like Creekcraft and my username's this, who would endlessly praise Jailbreak updates. Even this update underwent criticism by them. This update just added Season 4 and a fall map, which was basically nothing. Season 4 didn't even have any new vehicles. This update was a new low for the game's standards, and it was truly horrible. It made me quit the game for several months. I only came back because of the 2020 live event. It showed that Jailbreak needed something new in its updates, something more, as the updates were increasingly becoming more and more lacking, culminating in this update where we got basically nothing. That's it for my ranking of the top 10 worst Jailbreak updates. What do you think? Do you think I was unfair to some of the choices picked? Do you agree or disagree with my ranking? I really want to know what you think. Tell me your thoughts down below in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more Jailbreak rankings, news, interviews, and more Jailbreak content, please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also consider joining my Discord server and my Twitter account, both linked in the description below, if you want to talk to me more directly. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching and supporting me, and I'll see you all in the next video.